Everybody writes emails. But in a crazy time when I think all of us are kind of drowning in annoying, irrelevant, spammy email messages that fill up our inboxes, it would be really helpful for us to figure out how we can do it more effectively. How can we avoid being a spammer? How can we cut through the noise and deliver the right message to the right person? So on today's episode of The Savvy Marketer, we'll talk to Cory Rich. He's a fractional CMO, and he thinks very differently about email. We're going to have a discussion about how can you write an email that people actually want to read. But first, a marketing moment. For most marketers, the decision-making process for the solutions we sell doesn't happen in seconds or minutes. In many cases, it takes days or weeks or months, sometimes even years. In these cases, our marketing needs to progress through 6 specific baby steps. When marketing fails, it's typically because we're trying to shortcut and skip past some of the 6 steps. And marketing is going to fail when you skip steps. Step 1 is attention. You must get the prospect's attention. You want them to stop doing what they're doing and look, even if it's just for a split second. Step 2 is engagement. Once you have a prospect's attention, you have to engage them. You want them to read your email or your social post. You want them to watch your video. You want them to click through and learn more. Step 3 is capture the lead. If you've engaged somebody enough, and it often takes multiple passes for step 1 and 2, then they may be ready to take a next step, and you want to have a clear invitation for them to do that. Step 4 is nurture, because people need time to consider buying. Step 5 is conversion. This is where they make a buying decision for the first time. And step 6 is deepen the relationship. This is where you uncover needs from your customer and keep them coming back for more. It's also where you might get referrals, where the process can start all over again. So if you're sending an email to try to start a conversation with somebody you haven't talked to before, your first goal is to get their attention, and your second goal is engagement. If you think the goal of that email is to drive sales, well, then you've skipped all the way to step 5. Your email is not going to land right. It's going to fail. I created a short but super dense whiteboard explainer video that walks through these 6 baby steps in a lot more detail. Check it out. The link is included in the description. And that is your marketing moment. So oftentimes on The Savvy Marketer, I'm introducing you to old friends that I've known for a long time. But today I'm probably introducing one of my newest friends. Cory Rich is a fractional CMO with Apex Revenue. Cory, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Jeremy. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, Cory, I said at the start that we are new friends. Can you tell folks, first of all, what medium you use to reach out to me?
Yeah, so in my own prospecting efforts, kind of sales efforts and marketing efforts, I wrote Jeremy what I don't say this often, but what I think was a very good email. And so for the channel, from the medium of email, I was able to write Jeremy and get a response, and then we set up a call. And now I feel like we're best friends, just living in different states. So
that's right. Yeah. So I got to say, Cory, your email was so effective. It was so engaging that even though I knew it was a sales strategy, I had to reply. Well done on that. I get so many cold prospecting emails in my inbox. I assume you probably do too.
Yep. Way too many. Probably not as many as you, and I still get way too many. So
yeah. And it's so annoying. I feel like it's gotten a lot worse, and I feel like I have to wade through stuff in order to get to what's important. And I'm really good at ignoring them. And I was kind of focused on the wrong things when I got it, but I said, man, Cory, that is one of the best emails that I've received. And that's what kind of started the conversation. So for today's episode, I thought maybe we could talk about how to write an email, because a lot of people aren't doing it effectively, or how to send an email that people actually want to read on the other side, if you're down for that.
Yeah, that sounds great. Looking forward to it.
I am a believer in email. In fact, I pride myself on trying to write effective emails too. I think it's a powerful tool, but I'm afraid that email is kind of getting destroyed by, I don't know a better way to say it, lazy marketers.
Yep.
who just want to mass send messages to people without doing research and other things. And so I know you think about this very differently than most. I'm kind of praying that maybe today we'll put this episode out here and we can get all the spammers in the world to watch. and maybe everybody can like put it on auto reply or something.
To rid all spammers, right?
That's right. We want this episode to get embedded in the auto reply that goes to every unwanted spam message. We can fix the email problem with today's episode. So
hey, I think that's a good goal to have.
Yeah, maybe a bit ambitious, but we'll try. So before we jump in, Cory, just tell about who you are and what you do when you aren't working.
Yeah, so I've been married, since 2011. So in August, it'll be 12 years. My wife and I, we struggled with infertility early on in our marriage, and since have been able to adopt 3 beautiful kids, and we're in the process of finalizing adoption with our 4th. So we'll be a family of 6, which is pretty neat because I look back to like the early days of marriage when we were struggling with infertility, and I never thought we'd have a big family, right? So look back and just feel super fortunate to now be close to a family of 6 and just loving life. So I always tell people I'm pretty boring. When I'm not working, I'm literally just being a husband and a dad, which is my most favorite thing to do in the whole world. So we love being outdoors. We love sports. I box and trying to bring my kids into boxing with me as well. Not competitively, just as a good workout and for fun. So we just stay busy around here.
That's awesome. And Cory, that's so cool that you adopted. We actually adopted our son when he was 9 years old. Actually, he came to live with us as a 9-year-old, and then we adopted him when he was 10, and he is now 18. So
awesome.
So I didn't realize, I mean, we talked right before the show, but until then I didn't realize that we've got that in common. So very cool.
Yeah, you told me that right before we started. I was kind of mad at myself that we didn't discuss this on our first call. So
why wasn't it in the first email?
Exactly, right? Should have been. I failed miserably.
So tell me, we talked about the email. Can you describe to me that email that you sent me?
Yeah, so the way that I dive into email is pretty unique, and it's part of what we call our Infiltrate model, which is really just how we infiltrate, how we get into accounts. Now, I always try to be careful when talking about this because internally, like at least at our company, we talk about this as it's kind of like it's like the anti-scale model. And what I mean by that is we are so intentional with how we go about our emailing that it does take a bit more time and it takes more effort and it takes being more intentional. But we sell a high ticket B2B service, right? We're generally in the $9,000 to $12,000 per month range is kind of our contract size. And so our annual contract values are bigger and we have the ability to be intentional. So for me, Jeremy, like I'll explain to you exactly the process I went through with you. The questions I had in my mind as I was looking at your LinkedIn and some of the videos that you do, you're pretty active on LinkedIn. So that was like an immediate trigger for me. I was like, okay, Jeremy's active on LinkedIn, which means he cares about, getting his name out there, his brand out there. And he's also really good at doing these videos. So for me, that was like an immediate, I have so much content to pull from, right? I can go and pull from Jeremy's videos or from his posts and hopefully have an emotional tie to Jeremy. The next thing I did was went to your website, did some research just on your bio. Now, the one thing that hit me as maybe we weren't be a great fit is that you're more regional and we tend to work with brands that are trying to expand nationally. And so I don't know if you recall, but like my second or third line was like, frankly, I don't know if it makes sense to chat, but you're a church guy that drives a Jeep Wrangler, so I'm sending it anyways. That wasn't like a sales plug. That was very genuine, which I think is part of the strategy as well, right? I'm not just emailing you to be some tacky sales guy. I'm emailing you, one, because I think that we found a connection. Two, I think that we can possibly help you. And three, you seem like the type of person that I would actually want to engage and work with, right? So there's a lot of intentionality there. But ultimately it comes down to I found some things to personalize and I felt like those things were meaningful. Yeah. And then I addressed the problem that we solved. So kind of like our hook, right? How we solve it. And then the call to action was, hey, would it be a terrible idea to chat? And then I threw in, maybe over a root beer because we talked about the root beers earlier in the email. So that's kind of the flow of how I went about it.
Yeah, the subject of the email was you had me at root beer and Coney dogs. I think that was it, right?
Yeah.
So where did that come from?
So I am, and I know that you'll find so many different marketers and salespeople that have so many different opinions on this, right? But my personal approach to subject lines is that I don't want to put anything businessy. I know that's not a word. I'm making that up, but I don't want to put anything sales or business in that subject line, because you get those emails all the time. Jeremy, want to increase your ROI by 500%. Like you get those all the time, and it immediately is going to say to you, I'm being sold, right? That's how your brain's going to trigger that, is I'm being sold. Most likely you'll delete it and not even open it. So for me, my whole goal with the subject line is I need to make an emotional connection with you right when you read that subject line. And generally I'm going to do that by tying back to your content or tying back to something that seems meaningful as I've read about you in your bio or on your LinkedIn post, because my whole goal with the subject line is just to get you to open the email. Because if you don't even open the email, I don't even have a chance at getting a response. So.
Yeah. And so you found, I think I had just posted something about the root beer stand across the street opening in our office. And so that became the subject line.
Yeah. And for me now, I know this seems like the way I'm talking about it probably seems like, well, how in the world do you ever, email more than one person a day? The reality is I set a timer of 6 minutes of research per prospect. And so while it may seem like a lot, I've just developed a system to where I actually set a timer. It's 6 minutes. And within that 6 minutes, I can find all the key points that I want to as I'm drafting an email to go out and pull from that. So
is that typically LinkedIn?
LinkedIn and website are the two biggest ones that I use. If someone's not active on LinkedIn, then I'll immediately go to their website and check to see if they have a bio. If they're not active on LinkedIn and they don't have a website bio, it obviously makes it very difficult to personalize. And so
you move on.
Move on. If I still think the company's a really good fit, I might write more of a generic email. But again, I don't love that because it's going away from this account-based sales approach that we're talking about. So
yeah. Well, and I think there's something about the way that you customize stuff too, because my first response to you was like, dude, that is like the best email I've ever. We weren't even talking about what you're selling. But I said, everybody sends me these emails that says, oh, gee, I see you went to Heidelberg. That sounds fun. Let's talk about my business now. And it's so annoying because you don't even know anything about where I went to college. You just it feels like a mail merge field where they just randomly grab the college name or something like that. And what are you looking for in order to make that kind of a connection with somebody? Yeah,
so this is where it kind of gets a bit subjective, and obviously it can vary from person to person, right? For me, Jeremy, I'll tell you, and it can actually even vary from prospect to prospect or account to account. So for me, for instance, some things that pulled me in with you, Jeremy, were you seem to have a very big passion about growing your business regionally, which, like I said at first, even though we tend to approach brands that are trying to scale nationally, it means that you really care about where you live and you care about your community. So that was one of the big things that drew me to you. The second thing, you mentioned you're a church guy. We talked about this in our first call. Not a lot of people that are willing to just blatantly mention that in their bios nowadays. That drew me in. I'm a church guy.
Yeah.
That got me. And then the third thing, this seems silly, the Jeep Wrangler thing. My dad drives a Jeep Wrangler. My dad's driven a Jeep Wrangler since I was 16. We've always had one in his house. And so it was all right, these are some emotional things that I know Jeremy and I can connect off the bat. And so that's how I'm going to personalize my email. The fourth thing I guess we should mention, which is what I led with, the reality, I love root beer. It's my favorite drink, and I love Coney dogs. And you'd just written a post about that. So I felt like we checked all these boxes of places that you and I could connect on a deeper level than just business. And that could then lead into discussing whether or not it makes sense to chat or to, potentially see if there's a mutual business fit there.
Yeah, good. And so it sounds like, I mean, a lot of this is about the commonality. It's about the rapport that we would have based on things that we have in common. And so like the person, I see you went to Heidelberg could be effective if they also went to Heidelberg, right? But I mean,
Yeah.
But so many people just grab the first thing that they see and they don't even have any connection to it.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And I would say the other part is and this is where I think sales and marketers get it wrong sometimes, a lot of the time, is the desperation in the tone of their emails and in their, in their marketing channels and their sales channels. The reality is I am not desperate for your business, Jeremy, but I think there might be a mutual fit here. And so when I'm reaching out to you, not only am I trying to appeal to the emotional connection side because I see that we have some commonalities both personally and business, but then also it's, hey, I don't know if we fit, but is it worth a quick call to see if we do? Because the reality is I'm vetting you just as much as you're vetting me. And if you can figure out a way to communicate that, that's another part that I think brings in kind of that magic, because you're not desperate, you're not salesy, you're really just trying to have a conversation to see if there's a mutual benefit.
And are there parts, when you sit down to write an email, do you completely write it from scratch every time, or are there parts of it that you are able to standardize?
Good question. Both, actually. So it's the first, usually 1 to 2 paragraphs, always completely personalized as I'm taking this account-based sales approach, because those are where I'm trying to tie to you, like we've talked about. I'm trying to connect to you on a deeper level than just, hey, I'm a salesperson, or I'm trying to pitch you something. Yeah. The last paragraph, so kind of the problem that we solve, how we solve it, and the call to action. Generally, I will have a framework for those, but I'll usually adjust them based on the business a little bit. So I'll have kind of a couple paragraphs that I like to pull from, but I'll generally customize those a little bit as I'm going through the approach.
You mentioned the desperation can be part of it as well. Are there other things? I'm just interested, why do so many people struggle to send an engaging email?
Yeah, so I'll speak specifically kind of to like what we've talked about in selling like a higher ticket B2B service, because that's kind of what we focus on. And so I'll speak specifically to that. I think there can be some nuances you get into, like obviously consumers, or if you get into like really low ticket B2B services. But for us, and what I see and what I've experienced over my career, is that generally the problem actually lies at the very, very top, meaning people go out and they say, okay, I have an agency, or I have this, I have that, I have this service to sell. And they say, this is all the people, official term, total addressable market that I can sell to. Okay. And they establish that there is all of these people, and they don't go any deeper than that. That's where they stay, super high level. And so they're like, holy cow, I have this massive market, and the only way that I can get to that market is by volume. Just I need to find a salesperson, or a sales development agency that is going to hit as much as my target market as possible. The problem is the only way to do that is by templatizing, it's by spamming, it's by sending the exact same email and email sequence to every single one of those people in the total addressable market. That's where I see the problem lie. What they fail to do, and the solution to that, is then you got to go deeper, right? Everybody has a total addressable market, but then we want to go deeper, and we want to go to who is our target account profile, often referred to as, ideal customer profile. And then I want to dig deeper into that, and I want to find out who are my buyers, who's on the buying committee, who's the front lines that are going to be using my service, are going to be impacted by my service. And then I want to build out demographics and psychographics for all of those, and firmographics, so that I can come in and say, okay, this is how I am going to approach the actual people that I want to sell to. And then once you go that deep, you can then go out and draft some really good copy and some really good emails.
I think you make a good point that one key is to just simply email the right people. and you don't need a high volume of messages if you're sending the right message to the right person. So how do you measure success?
Yeah, so for us, we really are looking at what we call the downstream difference. We feel that with this approach, it's more of like an account-based sales approach, that we tie in with account-based marketing, account-based sales. I mean, very similar if you think about it. The execution's a little bit different, but similar mindset, right? The difference is that we should be able to contact a lot less people and get the same results as somebody who's spamming a heck of a lot more people. So we look at open rates, we look at reply percentages, and then we look at the actual interested percentages, right? This approach, while it is more intentional, it does take more time and it takes more effort, that it yields greater results. And for us, we believe and we've seen that a mass kind of the spamming approach at times can hurt a brand. It doesn't help a brand. Totally. And so for us, it's like, why don't we just target the right people with the right message and get it done?
So how do you think that the email landscape and just the direct message to people landscape will change in the future?
That's a good question. I think that's like a loaded question, especially when you bring AI into the mix and all the advancements that are taking place there, right? Which is a topic in and of itself that we discuss a lot internally, because what we do is so personalized. And while I believe that AI can potentially help in some areas, I don't think that they can completely overtake the human aspect of it, right? That human personal one-to-one connection. So I think you'll see moving forward that these spammy emails are going to continue to do harm. I really do. I really do. I think the brands that don't take a more intentional approach to like your email marketing and your email, account-based sales approach, it's going to hurt brands more and more, and you're going to see less and less conversion. And the brands that are willing to dive in and to spend more time being intentional about this are going to be the ones that succeed in the future with email marketing and email sales. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I agree. So more noise, more annoying messages coming in, probably more need to filter some of that stuff out, but maybe also more contrast with doing it in an authentic way. Exactly. Which might be an opportunity. I agree that AI can be a really powerful tool for a lot of things in marketing. But the idea of making an emotional connection with another person, I don't see that. So
I'm 100% with you, and hopefully we feel the same 5 years down the road, right? I don't want to see that overtake the human one-to-one aspect, or else I feel like we're going to have different problems. So
absolutely. Well, Cory, I want to thank you for taking some time to jump on the show today and share your insights about email.
Hey, Jeremy, thanks so much. It's been a pleasure. Really appreciate it.
Hey, I want to thank you for watching today's episode of The Savvy Marketer. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, subscribe, and be sure to share it with other people who may need to see this episode as well. Every episode of The Savvy Marketer is brought to you by Spire. We're an Ohio-based marketing agency. We help businesses sharpen their strategy, get the work done, and make their marketing hum. Take your marketing higher with Spire. Thanks for watching.